Welcome to episode 45 of 100 Songs. Today we are talking about the iconic band Black Sabbath, formed in 1968, Birmingham, Alabama. Ozzy Osbourne on vocals, Geezer Butler on bass, Tony Iommi on guitar, and Bill Ward on the drums. Black Sabbath has been massively influential to a lot of rock bands. They are credited and regarded by many as the pioneers of heavy metal, and I would say they were very much ahead of their time. I discovered Black Sabbath in 92 when I was in college in San Jose, and my dorm roommate had a friend that lived down the hall from us who actually introduced me to a lot of really cool music. Actually, between my roommate and him, they did. And Black Sabbath was among those. And right around that time, I was listening to all of the Ozzy era Black Sabbath. And then it was a little later after that, not too far down the road, that I got into the Dio era as well. Ozzy era is still my favorite among the Black Sabbath catalog. I just love those albums. They're so good. And for 100 songs, I'm covering the song Sabbra Cadabra off Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, which is my favorite on that album. Came out in 1973. I think it's a love song, basically. A song about obsession, perhaps. Rick Wakeman of the band Yes did a session for keyboards on that song. And the album Sabbath Bloody Sabbath was written, they were in the Clearwell Castle for inspiration for the album. And if you listen, there's an interview or two out there about this period of time for Black Sabbath. It was a difficult time for them. They were starting to run out of steam. There's a lot of issues in the band. Anyway, they got this castle, rented this castle, or leased it or whatever, and they wouldn't even stay in it. They were overnight. They were too freaked out. But Sabbath Bloody Sabbath is no joke of an album. It's a great album. My favorite album from them is probably the original one, even though I don't think it's the best album, or maybe it is. I don't know. I think it's all subjective, but I have a soft spot in my heart for the original. That's kind of what I came up on. But they're all really good. They all have different things going for them. But we're going to take a little bit of a listen to Sabbra Cadabra. It's got a little bit of everything in it. It has some great instrumental breaks. I love the vocals in it. It's a solid song. It's great. So each ingredient of Black Sabbath, each member is a critical ingredient to the band. I think, when Ozzy left, Ronnie James Dio, who is an incredible singer, came in. Actually, it was Sharon, their manager at the time, Sharon Arden, it was her idea to bring Dio into the band, and said, this guy, you should get him. He's an incredible singer, great showman too on stage, really a great fit for Black Sabbath. A lot of the internal issues were really boiling over in 1976. It was a few years after Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, and Ozzy was fired in 79, and that's when the Sharon Arden was actually the daughter of the manager. She wasn't the manager, she was the manager's daughter. I misspoke there. She eventually came on, came to be Sharon Osbourne. So this is Ozzy Osbourne's longtime wife, but she was involved even with them way back in the early 70s. Also, Bill Ward, in and out of being a drunk, so to speak. He had serious alcohol issues on and off that created some of the tension. Ozzy, a lot of his issue was drugs on and off, and it got to be too much, which led to their sort of ending. So let's see. The Ozzy persona was really established as part of Black Sabbath. So it started pretty much right away. So, Ozzy, Prince of Darkness, he's got these other names, but his whole persona, or you can call it a gimmick if you want, it was established as part of this Black Sabbath, the aura around Black Sabbath. They originally formed when Bill Ward and Tony Iommi were in a band together, and Ozzy and Geezer Butler were in a band together. The four of them came and formed Earth, and that didn't last too terribly long before they decided to drop Earth and came up with this Black Sabbath. I'm looking at the album cover. This Black Sabbath name, which ended up being a good call, a good decision, because it was from there they became this hugely iconic band. Black Sabbath was named after a 1963 Boris Karloff movie, monster movie, and that's where they got it. Most of their debut record was recorded in a single day, and it was released on Friday the 13th. Kind of part of the whole, spooky Black Sabbath not reputation, but sort of the way they were releasing it on Friday the 13th makes sense. Their albums are all, super creepy, and it just worked. So they recorded the first album in one day, which is pretty incredible. The only exception to that being some of the guitar overdubs were laid down after. But the bulk of the album was done just in one session, or at least one day, which is really cool. Tony Iommi has had to tune his guitar a half step down, and I think that contributed a little bit to some of the unique guitar sound, his signature style, was because he had missing a couple of fingertips from an industrial accident a little bit earlier in his life, and tuning down the guitar helped, I guess, accommodate for that. Missing those two fingers, and it's pretty clear, I think Tony Iommi is renowned as being a pretty great guitar player. He's got, so many great riffs in their catalog and their songs. There's just so many. His soloing, his songwriting, it's really good stuff. So they recorded Paranoid less than a year. It's like 7 months after the original first album came out. So these guys were on fire. They had a lot of material in them early on, so they were rapidly releasing, these albums, and then it started to slow down, several years later. Just wore on them, the drugs and the touring and the whole thing. I don't think, like a lot of bands, didn't handle it great, but it did take some time. I mean, they cranked out bunch of albums before finally the wheels came off the bus, so to speak. They did reunite. After Ozzy, there was Dio for a few albums, and then they had multiple other singers over the years. It was never quite the same, really, but the band, particularly Tony and Iommi and Geezer Butler, were determined to keep going. Bill Ward fell out kind of early-ish also after the Ozzy and Dio era. There was a reunion in '97, and then with Ozzy, and then there was that '97? Was that Ozzy? And then there was a reunion with Dio as well, and then their final reunion again with Ozzy in 2017. With the tour called The End, and their final album, I believe, called 13, which makes sense. Why not end on 13? Unlucky. Again, going with the theme there. I got a chance to see Black Sabbath twice. The first time was in 1994. So this is after Ozzy, obviously, and after Dio. They had a singer named Tony Martin, and they came by San Jose Event Center at the college there, and my dorm was like, I don't know, 50 yards from this place, and I saw a lot of really cool shows there. I was out of school at that time. I was at least out of San Jose State. I was back in Sacramento, but I would return there periodically, and I ended up going there to see this show with Tony Martin. It was actually really good. There's a live recording of it on YouTube. Somebody recorded the whole thing, and I watched part of it recently. I don't really remember the show at all, but seeing it again was interesting. It's kind of weird because I was there, but I don't really remember it. But it sounded pretty good to me, actually. Tony Martin, I think, did a really good job. I mean, pretty big shoes to fill, if you think about it. I think the main draw for me to go to that show was the opener, actually. I was a big fan of Black Sabbath, but, I wasn't, I was, again, more of an Ozzy, and I would have gone to see Dio too, obviously, but, well, maybe not obviously, but I was a Dio fan also. And this particular show, Motorhead opened, and I was a really big Motorhead fan from late high school to forever, and Motorhead opened for this particular Black Sabbath show, and so I was kind of drawn to that, and then of course Black Sabbath, so very cool. I have the concert ticket for that one. I found this one. I was trying to figure out what year it was because they played there a couple of times, and one was 94 and one was 99, and I was pretty sure it was 94 that I went to, but they were there in 99 too. Same place, I'm pretty sure. I also saw them a second time with Ozzy in 2005 as part of Ozfest in the Sacramento area. That was really cool, seeing the original band together. Bill Ward, I don't believe was playing with them at that time, but it was most of the original lineup, and it was cool to see Ozzy play with them. That was the last time I saw Ozzy. I'd seen him several times as Ozzy Osbourne. Several times. But this was really cool to see them with Black Sabbath, for sure. That was in 2005, and that particular show, Iron Maiden, was the second to last band to play that night at Ozfest, and I'm a really big Iron Maiden fan. they were my favorite band through the late 80s and, into the 90s. Big fan. And I'd seen them before a couple of times, but that was the last time I saw Iron Maiden, was when they played with Black Sabbath. So pretty cool. That was a big draw for me too, to go to Ozfest. Actually, I would have gone anyway, because a friend of mine had tickets, and they're like the higher access pass, I don't know, special pass, whatever. And I'm not going to not go to that. And just so happens that it was such a great lineup. So let's listen to a little bit of Sabbra Cadabra. I think a lot of people that are big Black Sabbath fans, this is one of their favorites off this album. Let's turn that up a little bit. So that keyboard. I just love this part of the song. Piano in the back there. Ugh. It was about midway through the song where I stopped it right there. It goes on a little bit more, and then there's a big instrumental break. You heard the piano. It's just such a great song. I think probably one of their other super popular ones off of this particular album is "Killing Yourself to Live." I think is a favorite among many, and "A National Acrobat." And then the title track is really cool too. Shit, it's all good. So that's it. Let's see what we are going to be talking about next week. All right, so next time we will be talking about the band Combine and Ephedrine off of their album Norfolk, Virginia. So we'll talk about that. This is a one of the lesser known albums probably in my 100 songs. This might be one of the top 4 or 5 bands and albums that are lesser known. I just said that again for no reason. So we'll talk about that next time. Take it easy. See you later.